Be talking about etiquette for tournaments and gameplay all around. Hello, by the way, my name is Steven here at Level Up. We're going to be talking about some etiquette for tournaments, gameplay in general, just all around good stuff for any event you want to go to. So, first off, we're going to talk about the basics. First off, in general, just being a good person. You want to greet your opponent whenever you sit down for a match. A kind gesture, hello, how are you doing today? Generally asking them where they're from, asking them how long they're out there. That's a very good talking point. Say, how long have you been playing the game? Just generally figuring out what their experience and what they where they from. Like just generally like that. It's good to know like little basic things about like just getting some talking points out the way. You want to tell your opponent good luck. I know you're trying to win your match as well, but you want to tell them good luck. It's a really good gesture. It's basically, I want a good game, so good luck. You never want games that end in your opponent getting really bad luck. Say they start with a really weak basic Pokemon, anything after that. No one ever wants to see those kind of games. No one ever wants to win those kind of games because it really doesn't feel like you won it at all. And your opponent feels bad as well. So you want to tell your opponent good luck. Next thing is, don't trash talk. I know trash talking can be fun sometimes. It can be, a little bit of banter back and forth. That's fine. But trash talking in general, you never know what your opponent will take the wrong way. So it's best to keep things keep them friendly, keep them pleasantries. Starting your game off and going, your opponent says good luck, and you say, get ready to get wrecked. That can be very intimidating. It can make them feel like, oh, this isn't gonna be fun for me. This is gonna be stressful. So always make sure your opponent's having fun. Avoid trash talk at all costs. Also, the pitfalls of trash talk and pitfalls of having an attitude like that. Your opponent doesn't have to from you. They can actually call a judge, and if you are saying things that don't really align well with the spirit of the game, just straight up a trash talk, borderline insulting your opponent, they can call a judge, and you can get a game lost, disqualified, or even other penalties that are more severe, including but not limited to being ejected from the tournament. So I would definitely say, keep the trash talking and the attitudes away from the table. Your opponent, they deserve that. Both of you want to have a good game. So I would say keep trash talking to a minimum if it's not at all. And please don't harass or threaten your opponent. That will most likely end poorly for you. It's not with the spirit of the game. It's just completely don't. Be a good person, please. Also, please put away your devices during a game. I cannot tell you this enough. It's devices. Yeah, they'll help you tell time. They can help you get a phone call while you're in a match. That's just the problem, though. During a match, you really want to focus on the game at hand or the task at hand. So having a device out or having something that's gonna distract your opponent isn't really fair to them. It's actually not fair to you as well, because you could be distracted if you have a device near you. Plus, also, people can give you information about your match during your match if you have a device near you. To keep devices out of the way and out of sight during a match. Next thing, we're going to look into using a coin over a dice. A lot of times people will use coins over dice because people use coins over dice because they just feel comfortable with coins. But using a dice over a coin is probably optimal, because if you use a dice over a coin, you get better randomization, or over a 50-50 chance. You'll get a coin is 50-50, where a dice is one of 6 results, but it can still be a 50-50 result if you put the right parameters. Saying odd numbers are going to be odd numbers 3, 1, and 5 are tails, and even numbers such as 6, 4, and 2 are heads. You can make a randomizer that is more efficient than flipping a coin. Plus, you get that weird situation where someone will go, I'm going to flip a coin, and I know you couldn't see that, but basically all I did was I flicked it up, and it did probably 1, maybe 2 rotations max. And that is not proper randomization in my opinion. But using a dice always gets that proper randomization, that really, really good chance that they won't ask you whether or not you did that on purpose. But yeah, always roll. I recommend rolling a dice over flipping a coin. And also, the person rolling the dice should not be the one who calls it. Simply because if you roll the dice and your opponent calls it, then that's both of you having interaction both of you having interaction in that randomization. And so it's a little more of a guarantee that it's going to be truly random. Also, make sure the dice is Pokemon approved, meaning it has these nice rounded edges right there, and also that is see-through. All right. The size isn't too much of a big deal though. Although some people want you to have dice that is clearly larger than the other dice you may use for, say, damage counters. You want to make sure it's translucent as well as having those nice little round edges. All right, and make sure also that your dice lands in the playing area. If it falls on the floor or if it falls outside the bounds of your play mats, usually. Like, I know here at Level Up, if it lands near your game board but not on the playmats, you're fine. But usually, if it falls on the floor or if it lands too far away from you, then it's considered a invalid roll. So I definitely suggest you make sure that your aim is good, roll on the table, and make sure it lands in the play area. Also, so we're going to go from that to another big thing, which is announce your actions. Now, a lot of people, you will see that they'll just play down cards, say like I will just randomly use I got Tapu Koko V here with me. I'll play it down and I'll just put 20 damage on my opponent's Pokemon and then draw cards. I won't say what attack's doing that. I'll just do that. Now, that's actually wrong. What you should do is announce the attack, say spike draw, and then start doing the effects. Because if you don't announce it, a couple things can happen. The 3 major points that can happen is it can create some confusion. Like your opponent giving your opponent clarification to what you're doing is very important. That way your opponent knows what you're doing, and they can read the right text on your attacks. If they were to pick up your card and say, oh, what's doing that? They would know exactly what attack to look at or what ability to look at to make sure they know what's happening with the Pokemon or what the effect is happening. Also, it makes it very clear. Also, oh, by the way, before I say that, don't always assume your opponent knows what attack or ability does. That's why you need to announce an attack. Sometimes you need to announce the attack does as well, because your opponent may not know what it is that your attack or ability is doing. Some more experienced players will know, hey, he's using, say, Dead Change. They know that's you discard your hand and draw 6 cards. I actually have that card right here. They know this. It's pretty much a common fact because it's a very commonly used card. But if your opponent doesn't know what Dead Change does, you may have to clarify this, but don't just play down to Dene, discard your hand, draw 6 cards, because then that will really confuse someone who doesn't really know what Dead Change does. Next thing is, it avoids confusion. Like, say your opponent doesn't know what you did. Your opponent, and then you keep on playing, you just keep on going. Your opponent says, hey, I don't understand what just happened here. You never said anything. You never declared your attack. You never said anything. You never told me what you were doing. I don't know what you're doing anymore because you're just kind of playing cards now. Well, it's confusion. And when you and your opponent are on the same page and no one's behind on, say, I didn't know what you did here. You didn't play a card down and tell me what it was or tell me what it did. Both of you stay on the same page and it avoids very much unneeded confusion. Oh, let's see. The next thing you need to do is stay at your seat. A lot of people you'll see in tournaments, they will stay in their seat for the duration of the whole match. But that's very important because if you get up during a match, even to stand up, walk around, say hi to a friend, your opponent could do a couple different things. The first thing he could do is they could call a judge and say their opponent has abandoned the match and say you're stalling. 2, they could say that, hey, he's getting advice from someone else and that I think he got up and now he's going to go cheat somehow. I'm not sure how they do that. But 3, your opponent themselves could take it as a chance to a competitive edge. So be sure to stay at your match, be present at all times. I know you sometimes get thirsty, you want to get a drink of water, you want to use the bathroom. That's all well and good, but try to keep that between rounds, okay? And the last thing as far as etiquette goes during your match and tournaments is please respect other people's matches as well. When you're done with your game, sometimes they'll end in roughly 3 turns or 2 turns, or even I've seen games end in 1 turn in that terrible format where a Pokemon could attack first. I've seen games end that quickly. You'll want to be respectful of the people that are still playing, and essentially what that means is you'll get up, take your deck, put it in your box, pick up your playmat, anything else that's on the table, and you will leave the play area, which a lot of times will be designated by some way, shape, or form by your organizer, and you'll head to the waiting area or head to the area outside the playing area to wait for your next match. This gives your opponents time to think. It gives them more room to think. It gives them basically the same respect that you got during your match. This way, they'll be able to make the best moves they can, make the most logical moves they can, as well as focus on them and their opponent. They can finish their match without any distractions or any kind of outside influence. So make sure you don't distract your opponent while. See. Yep. Other than that, let's just cover last 2 things. Judge calls. If you're confused about something and you're not sure how something works as a player yourself, just call a judge over. They'll be sure to they'll be happy to help you. A lot of times, if you feel like your opponent's done something that they should not have done, or if they've made some questionable plays, it's best to call a judge rather than resolve any kind of situations yourself or get into a confrontation with your opponent. It's always best to call a judge if you feel like there has been some misplay in a match. Also, make sure you keep your play brisk and brief, but not too rushed. Basically, pace of play. You'll want to keep 10 seconds for every action. 15 seconds is a little much, but there's some wiggle room there between 15 and 10 seconds. And you'll also want to make sure you're playing in a well-done manner, because you don't want your opponent to sit there for too long waiting for you to make an action or waiting for them to take their turn. You want to make sure you keep your pace of play so that both of you have a fair amount of interaction at regular pace. Also that your opponent doesn't feel relatively cheated when the time runs out and he could have had just a little more time, then they would have been able to eke out a win or some kind of state like that. So it's best to keep your pace of play. This way, both players have opportunities and chances to do the most they can during a battle. Also, I will talk about one last thing, conceding a match. Sometimes you'll see the match is pretty much over at a certain point. There's nothing you can do. Your chances of winning are very unlikely, and you know that your resources in your deck have run out. A good idea sometimes, especially if you're playing a best 2 out of 3, where you still have a chance to win 2 more games afterwards, is to concede the match and move on to the next one. If you're playing in best of 1, sometimes it's good to concede the match because you know that, hey, this is just going to work out. Not saying you should always concede your matches. if you feel like, oh, this is a terrible hand, I can't do anything with it. But if you do see the writing on the wall, if you do see that there is no possible way for you to win this game, there's honor in conceding. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's always if you're going to do that. If you're going to also, don't pressure your opponent into conceding themselves. Like I've seen several times where people said, oh, my opponent pressured me saying, oh, there's no way I can win. You've got nothing. You can't win. It's also trash talk. But anyway, you don't want your opponent to feel like they are pressured into conceding the game to you if that happens. So also, your opponent can call a judge over, and the judge will say, rule in their favor saying that, hey, you can't pressure your opponent to concede a game. You can't do that. That's not fair to them, actually, because your opponent, you yourself as a player, are the one who decides when you think the game is over and when you have to concede. Your opponent, the person winning, can never decide that for you. All right. Other than that, there's not too much else to say. Make sure you're there when your match begins. Make sure you say hi to your opponent. Make sure you greet them friendly. Say good luck. Just be a friendly and good person. Make sure you're following the rules. Make sure you be respectful to both the opponent and yourself. Keep your play at a great pace. Be kind. Don't trash talk. Don't insult your opponent. Just be a good person. All right? And other than that, that's pretty much all I got to say. So I've been Steven here at Level Up. Remember, make sure you like, subscribe, check us out on Facebook, all that good stuff. And really appreciate any feedback or any comments you want to give. But yeah, all I got to say left is never give up. Keep going and keep on leveling up. All right, thank you.